is research important? Now, I suppose asking me is like asking the Pope whether he should be Catholic. There's really not a lot of point asking me that question, but I do think that research is important, and I don't just say this glibly. I think, it is the basis of just so many things. This is one of the erstwhile presidents of the American Society for Clinical Investigation. I think putting it very succinctly why we should all have some innovative scientific inquiry in our minds, because it informs, educates, and helps us to grow as people. But it is worth pondering, and I don't think that necessarily it's for everyone, and I think you should ask yourself this question very, very consciously and carefully, and discuss it with people, because at the end of the day, you shouldn't do something unless you're passionate about it, and those who went into research without the passion for research, I think, do find it very hard. So go through those questions, ask yourself the question. You may not always have the answers immediately. Talk to your peers, talk to your mentors, talk to people outside the profession. And there are, of course, the pure clinicians who do a very good job, because otherwise we won't be able to deliver the service we have to deliver. So think about that very carefully. There is real value in research, and I've just put 3 points there, and I keep harping on this. Innovative thinking. It is about becoming thinking surgeons. I know we have all these sort of puns at, a thinking surgeon is an oxymoron. And the reason that's happened is because I think we have not dedicated enough of our efforts to this. It also brings about interdisciplinary scholarship, and that I think is very important. And you see from almost every presentation now, compared to about 20 years ago, that this business of collaborative activity, working with people that you would normally not have thought of working with, comes about because of the research questions you're asking. It also has an impact, and I think it does contribute to patient care. I had quite a sort of heated argument the other day with a clinical colleague who said, the research that has changed clinical practice can be written on the back of a postage stamp. And then I pointed out to him all the objects in the operating theatre that had actually would not have come about if not for research. So I think we shouldn't just put it aside. We should think carefully about it, because it has led to enhanced patient care. And almost every one of the research presentations we've heard in this meeting, you can see has or will have an impact on patient care. Medical education comes as part and parcel of it, and this whole area which I call the biomedical enterprise, which is growing all the time, the increased prosperity of that enterprise is based on the impact that research has had. And if you look at organizations like the NIHR in America, the National Heart, Lung, Blood Institute, which does most of the work that's related to our area, all of this, the impact of research is very, very real in these organizations. Now, I was charged just over 2 years ago by the then president of the Vascular Society, Peter Taylor, to set up a research committee. The society had tried time and time again and failed to come up with any sort of body that could inform research. And I thought, as a national body, it was really remiss of the society not to have a committee dedicated to research. Because, as we can see, it's not just about education and training, but it is also about this important area. So I think it's important that clinician-scientists, as I call it, are supported. And why are clinician-scientists important? Because in every stage of the process, this is a very good article to read, in every stage of the process, from discovery through to implementation of a new device or a compound, the clinician-scientist has a very important role in this whole translational process. And it's about asking the right question. And when you look at the definitions of translational research, you'll see that it's an iterative process. It's from, as we say, bedside to bench and back to the bedside. But built into it is this word clinical. It's clinical observations to generate the research hypothesis, and then you integrate those discoveries back into your clinical application. So how can you really have any of this research without clinician scientists being part of this team? I find it absolutely amazing that people actually talk about translational research with purely scientific teams. I don't think that can really be credible. Mentoring is a very important thing. There's a whole area around mentoring. I wonder how many of your mentors are actually actively introducing you to national and international leaders, because it's about that generation. You have got to go and make those connections. I'm passé, I don't need to make those connections. You all do need to do it. So, mentors need to be thinking of their mentees while they're at meetings like this. But also you should have a co-mentor, a career mentor who is a completely different person, and then a general advisor. And again, I'd highlight this, I can give you this reference later, which talks about all these different people. And if you're going to embark on this challenging life, then you must not just have one mentor. So your life in research does have a number of challenges, and I won't go through those are obvious things. And in new curriculum as it comes out, certainly lengthening the surgical training program will once again come on the agenda, because in vascular surgery it's not just your 5 years, you've got to go and do your endovascular fellowship. So maybe we've got to be ingenious about how we bring in a parallel track of research that you can do while you're doing your training. It's not going to be easy, and I'm going to be thinking very carefully about this. There are real challenges. But I think that we also have unprecedented opportunities and advantages, and we should make use of them. And I'm highlighting this because we as a society, we were not funding any of this research, and I thought that was wrong. That we should be relying on other associations and medical charities to fund it. So I'm really pleased that the society and the council did take what we said on board. We have the second President's Early Career Award this year that has just been awarded, the first Surgeon-Scientist Award. That, just as I get asked about why do research, what does a higher degree mean? And I think this is a really eloquent description of what a higher. This is Peter Medawar, who was the Nobel laureate in 1965 when he was an immunologist in Oxford. And I think this is true. It opens a number of doors, not just in this country, but all over the world. So, just think about it carefully, about whether you do research for the publications of papers or whether you do research to get a higher degree. So, those are the summary points. I personally feel that some form of research, and we can decide, we can discuss what form that takes, is an essential. I don't think it is optional. I think it's an essential ingredient in the training recipe. I felt that the Vascular Society should have a very central role, and I'm pleased to say that that now is the case. I think we should be right there initiating and implementing these programs, giving sufficient amounts of money, not these 5,000, 10,000, those are helpful, but meaningful sums of money as well, because I think that is the only way that we can actually get high caliber, high quality vascular